Okay, everybody, welcome back to Two Marks and a Spark. We got a lot to talk about. Right off the top here, we are going to kind of glaze over the weekly shows. We're going to talk about them in very brief form, as in, I liked it, I didn't like it, because
Yeah.
Forbidden Door gave us a lot to talk about. I do have press conference notes being fed to me by our press correspondent, Devlin Clark. That's not his official title, it's just a BS title I gave him to make him sound cool.
All right.
We move on. Hi, Russ.
Hey, how you doing, Ben?
Well, we have a lot to talk about.
Sure. Let's get going.
Uh, so I don't think either one of us are going to disagree that Dynamite was the best show of the week.
Mm,
That or
yeah.
Collision.
Yeah.
I thought both Dynamite and Collision were very good this week. I thought SmackDown was okay, and Raw fucking sucked.
Raw had its moments, but overall, this team kind of boring.
Flat.
Too long.
There was a weird six-man tag that we've already seen with Cody and Owens and Zayn against the Judgment Day. I swear I've seen that match before.
I think we're seeing too many six-man tags. Maybe I would feel different had I grown up watching Lucha Libre. But to me, I wish they'd keep a little bit more rare, just for my personal taste.
I just, I don't know. Ciampa was supposed to wrestle Seth. That didn't happen.
Right. I had a thought
Which
about that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
which is totally a Vince thing, like you texted me this week. That's such a
Yeah.
Vinceism.
On the other hand, if Ciampa has a feud or a big match coming up with Seth Rollins, then I hope that's where they're going with it. I hope they decided to save it for a bigger venue and a bigger story.
Do you think Vince
Build
thinks
up
that
to
far
it.
ahead?
But I'm not sure if Vince McMahon and his crew think that far ahead. It doesn't look like it sometimes.
Well, I didn't watch NXT this week. I wanted to because they had Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker. I didn't
I missed
watch
it
it.
also.
I didn't watch it. I was watching paint dry. Um, you know,
Really.
which tends to be more entertaining than NXT. Russ, what are you drinking?
Well, let's see. Pinky cocktails, fruit punch.
Huh. See, usually I see with like a 1911 or uh, a Leinenflugels or a Heineken.
Yeah. I
And then I
just
saw
grabbed
this
one
red
from the
drink and
little
I was like,
fridge
what?
here.
I was like, what the
Very
fuck?
sweet.
Well, again, Raw was a total disaster. Both in front and behind the camera. It was a total mess.
I'm glad to see Ciampa back. I hope they use him a little better. Just does
I
his usual thing. He goes about 10 minutes and puts somebody over. Seems
uh
to have found his niche.
a, a note from Devlin early in the week was Miz has not won a match since December of 2022.
Okay. It's been a while then. That's a long stretch.
They need to have him win a match. I'm sure
I
he's win I'm sure he's winning on house shows, but
might be
I don't
getting
know.
into Barry Horowitz territory there.
Well, Russ, let's talk about this amazing Forbidden Door show
Yeah.
that kind of had all the ebbs and flows that it needed to. There were a lot of high points, there were some low points, but you kind of need those because if you have all high points, you're going to be half asleep by match 3.
I think
Uh,
you're right.
I did not watch the buy-in or 0 hour, whatever you want to call it.
I missed that too. Was there one or two dark matches? Or not dark, I mean, before the free matches, I should say.
They had like 4 matches on the buy-in, which is extremely high number. Um, I didn't see it because I had shit to do and was not going to watch an hour of uh pre-show matches.
I
Because
did
that's
see that the last little bit of it I saw. It was good that they had Renee do the interviews. I kind of wish that they would let her do all the interviews, put her in charge of backstage interviews and in-ring interviews on AEW. She's the best far and away. She's excellent at it. Light years above any female announcers they have in WWE.
Okay, so this is unconfirmed, but I am getting a report right now that Punk had a verbal altercation with Hangman that is holding up the media scrum. That is
Oh, okay.
unconfirmed. That is unconfirmed. I will repeat that is unconfirmed. I'm not reporting that, but I am getting that fed to me right now. So we'll come back to that, I'm sure, because we've got a long show planned, folks. We've got a lot to talk about. Uh let's get right into it. MJF, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Two faces of the
Yeah,
company. The two faces of the company, two top
right.
guys, and they wrestled like it. This was a great match. Great start to the show. A lot of people didn't like the fact that the AEW World Title started the show. To that, I say I don't care. It was a good match. They weren't going to close the show
Forbidden
with
door.
this, huh?
Forbidden door. You have to work with another promoter there.
Yeah, you're not going to get your world title in the main event. Neither world title main event of this show. So,
That's right.
and then we got CM Punk versus Satoshi Kojima. This match was
Pronounce that
fine,
again, please.
huh?
Pronounce his name again, please. CM Punk versus.
Satoshi Kojima.
Okay, yes.
I should mention that MJF beat Tanahashi with the Dynamite Diamond Ring cheap shot. I I
Right.
don't I don't mind it. It keeps both guys strong. They're both the faces of their individual companies. I certainly understand why you don't do it.
I like him cheating to win. It goes along with being a heel champion.
But
Goes
I
along
also
with
understand why they didn't do it.
cowardly and lazy and everything else.
I also understand why they don't do a clean finish here because it's two faces of these companies. It's the face of each of these companies. You're not beating either guy clean if you don't have to.
Correct.
Um CM Punk, Satoshi Kojima, CM Punk got booed out of the fucking building.
Yeah, it was very different than last week, wasn't it? Very different than Chicago. I
Correct.
like I got a chuckle out of the way he mocked the crowd sometimes.
And I like the fact that the announcers did not ignore it. They
Right.
they played into it.
And we talked about it. You see him
And
do his little Hulk Hogan imitation.
he did that twice this week.
Yeah, what a smart ass, you know.
And he just got booed both times. And I'm like,
Like if you boo him, he's just gonna mock you.
well, he didn't really get booed on Collision. That's what I thought was weird. He didn't get booed last night. He got booed tonight.
Yeah.
And he got booed. He didn't just get booed tonight. He got
This was not a traditional AEW crowd. You could just sense that right off the bat.
this felt like a New Japan crowd.
Yes, it did. And the way they responded too. And the ups and downs and the crowd's responses felt very much like a audience that watched a lot of New Japan.
And that is a compliment, by the way, because Japan crowds are fantastic.
Yeah, they're
Just
very
generally
observant,
speaking.
they're very smart, and they're very respectful, even to the ones they hate.
This crowd was not respectful to Punk, though.
No, they weren't. They really didn't like that at all.
They did not like this prick. Uh, Punk
How'd you
wins
feel
with
about how'd you feel about the match overall?
I thought it was a good match. Kojima is definitely one of the older guys on the New Japan roster,
Yeah, I sensed that, and you could see that in his work.
but
That's a
that's not
compliment.
always a bad thing, having an experienced guy.
Compliment. Yeah,
Um,
and CM Punk is as good as he ever been.
yeah. Um, and it seems like he's healthy, so that's good. Punk does win with a GTS, as you would expect. This was an Owen Hart tournament match. Punk was always going to win this. And I kind of like the fact that they had Punk worked with a more experienced guy for his first singles match. That makes sense. Punk did show respect after the match, helping Kojima up. Pretty much confirms they're not turning him heel, though they probably should at this point.
Yeah, well, he's already a heel to a certain part of the AEW crowd, and always will be. And I think
Including me and you. Including me and you.
and just keep building on that.
I
You
mean,
know?
if you were in the building, you would have booed him.
Yeah,
Let's be honest, you'd have booed the guy if you were there.
right.
Not like you'd ever go to Canada.
He is funny though. You know what? One of the funniest lines, what maybe his new catchphrase. You know,
Tell me when I'm telling
I'm
lies.
tired of being nice.
When were you nice? You were
I miss
nice?
that. I miss that.
You were nice?
Yeah, he was.
Whoop. Went right over my head.
Maybe he got hired drunk accidentally and it made him nice. That would ruin his whole gimmick, wouldn't it?
It really would. We got a 4-way for the international title: Orange Cassidy, Katsuyori Shibata, Zack Sabre Jr., Daniel Garcia. This is 4 really good wrestlers who had a really bad match.
And then what, Zack Sabre, is that his name?
Correct.
Zack Sabre Jr.?
He is really good. He is phenomenal.
And they referred to something about him and Orange Cassidy coming together about a year ago.
Yeah,
that went right over my head. Was that in AEW?
I think so. I don't. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I here's my thing with this match. This wasn't a bad match. It just, I don't generally like 4-ways for titles.
I don't either. And also you could tell Orange Cassidy's going to win it.
That and the fact that, like, if you're gonna put Sabre on the card, put him in a singles match, because this does not showcase him well at all.
Right.
It doesn't showcase any of the 4 of them good.
I think Daniel Garcia's little dance step thing is stupid.
I thought it was funny when they made fun of it, though.
Yeah.
Overall, fine match, fun for what it was. Cassidy got the win. He stole it from Shibata. We move on to a match that
Jack Perry versus
Sonata. Sonata did not want to do this match. Okay.
I had heard that. I was not familiar with him, but I heard he made something like, "I have no knowledge of Jack Perry. I don't know who he is. It doesn't matter." He kind of got over with me a little bit when the arrogance of that is kind of like, "I'm wasting my time here."
Well, no, that was a shoot. That's the thing. That was a shoot. Oh, yeah. He didn't want to do it. So he walks out, and you can clearly tell, dude, I don't want to do this. This sucks. This is garbage.
You got the idea that he felt like Jack Perry was not a worthy opponent, not on his level.
My question is, if Sonata really didn't want to do the match, why did they do it?
Well, probably under contract and they had to pay him, so.
I get he's the IWGP champion, but me and Devlin were talking about this during the show.
Right.
I thought this probably should have been a Jericho Sonata match, because at least there would have been some name value there.
Right. Well,
Jericho.
You knew Sonata was going to win just because his name at a Forbidden Door pay-per-view has a lot more weight to it.
Jack Perry and Sonata, this match never got off the ground.
How about after the match, though? A little bit of a heel turn with Jungle Boy?
Yes, definitely. Sonata wins with the moonsault, but after the match is where things get interesting and where this show kind of starts to heat up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because we get a lot of hints at the future here. So Hook is helping Jungle Boy up the ramp, who just got the shit beat out of him by Sonata, and they're at the top of the ramp. Hook's got that FTW title. I'm still confused why the FTW title exists.
Right.
But that's not the point. Jungle Boy absolutely jaw jacks fucking Hook, and Hook is dead. And Hook sells this like he just got shot with a fucking gun.
It was great.
And Taz sold it like Jungle Boy just pulled out a shotgun and shot his kid in the face.
Yeah, he did.
Commentary sold this like $1 million. And you could kind of see the turn coming, but I didn't see them doing it that way.
Or the frustration.
I like how he mocked the whoa thing by doing it. He's like, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, Jack?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing, Jack? Jack,
stop. It's time for a change.
So I guess we're getting Jungle Boy versus Hook. Okay. I'm fine with that.
that's kind of looked like where they were going, and some of the matches on tonight's show kind of furthered the AEW storyline somewhat, and some of them paused those storylines for a week. We'll pick it up next week. We're doing something completely unrelated now. You understand what I mean?
Which is fine. I mean, you can do that. Sometimes you have to do that.
Well, I guess if you're going to have all New Japan wrestlers, yes, you're definitely going to have to do some of that.
And then we get, and I'm not a fan of 10-man tags, but this was pretty good as they go. The Elite, Eddie Kingston and Ishii against Blackpool Combat Club, Umino, and Takeshita. I thought this match was very good. I really liked this. Shota Umino came out of this looking like $1 million. He came out of this looking really good. And that's good because he is a very talented young guy who's just coming out of developmental for New Japan.
One to keep an eye on.
He just finished his excursion, which is basically their version of developmental. Well, they'll send you to a different country.
Okay.
And God, was he good in this match. And Kingston and Moxley, it looks like we might be headed for that as a feud, which I am all for.
Right.
Those
I like Eddie Kingston, you know. He looks terrible, but it works for him. He looks like a slob, you know.
It's part of the gimmick.
Yes, it is. And he does it very well, you know. And he gets some great lines sometimes. You know, he said something the other day about I'm not going to take off my shirt because I just had surgery and I've been eating a lot of ice cream. And this sounds so real.
It does. Well, does not sound like we have confirmation on that Punk Hangman thing, by the way. It sounds like that might just be a rumor, but I'm going to keep my eye on that.
And what was the finish on this one? Remind me.
It was a brainbuster for Ishii, and he pins Yuta, and Ishii gets the win. The Elite did not appear too happy that Ishii is the one who got the pin.
Right.
Neither team looked very happy with how this went, but I think that was all selling because it was a very good match.
For a 10-man, it was tolerable, but it wasn't very long, and that was all right too.
It was a very good match. A lot of good spots.
I was not surprised, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
What was that?
I was moving on to comment about the next thing, but I don't think you were done.
I do want to mention about that 10-man tag.
Yes.
I understand why they did it, but this probably should have gone where the Jericho Sting match did. And we'll get back to that. But we had Tony Storm and Willow Nightingale. This was a television match that they made us pay for.
Right. But and it went the way I predicted, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there was no surprise here. A lot of people thought we might get a surprise return or something. That did not happen. No. Storm wins with the Storm Zero. And
well, they didn't have a lot of women on the show, did they?
No, and I don't like that. You know, I don't like that.
Is that a New Japan thing?
No, not anymore. It used to be, but it's not now.
Okay. I wanted to see Sky Blue.
I mean,
I always want to see Sky Blue.
I was gonna say, when don't you want to see Sky Blue? Who doesn't? Yeah,
well, no, don't get me wrong. Now, I'm not one of them freeze frame pervs.
You sure?
Yes, I'm absolutely sure. Ask my wife; she'll tell you.
We can change your title. I mean,
what? Uncle Russ, the freeze frame perv?
I mean, that's kind of catchy.
Well, maybe we'll try it out sometime.
And then after this women's match that fell flat on its ass.
Yeah, it was all right. It just felt like a time waster a little bit.
Felt like a TV match. We get
probably one of your favorite matches.
The greatest fucking match in AEW history. End of story, not a discussion. I don't want to hear it.
Convince me. I'm not arguing with you. You got to sell me on it. Because I'm like Willie Ostrich and Kenny Omega.
Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega. Okay. Hear me out. These two had a match at the Tokyo Dome that
Right.
was fucking incredible. Arguably, you could make a serious argument it was even better than this.
Right. And for that Japanese strong style of match, this was a good match. It's not my favorite style of match. It was a good representative of the genre.
It was the best representative of the genre. If you want to show somebody New Japan Pro Wrestling, show them this match. Because holy shit. This match had fucking everything. And these two are so smart and they know exactly what they're doing. This was a lot slower than their Tokyo match.
Yeah.
But it was also a lot longer. So you can understand why they maybe didn't go 100 miles an hour.
And we got to see Don Callis a little bit.
I kind of wish he was on commentary.
Yeah, I would have liked that too. He didn't really do a whole lot.
No.
Kind of stayed out of the way and let him shine.
These are two of the best wrestlers in the world right now. Not a question. And this was the best match that AEW's ever had on their television.
In your opinion, correct?
For all of about the next 45 minutes, that is, and we'll get to what it was after this.
All right.
But this match was fucking incredible. Kenny did take a serious shot to the neck on the Tiger Driver 91. I do hope Kenny is okay.
It looked like it could have been very painful.
He landed right on his neck.
Overall, there wasn't a lot of blood on the show, but we did get to see a little bit of blood there, if I remember right. Wasn't it Will Ospreay who was juicing a little?
Both of them were bleeding like stuck pigs. And commentary sold this match again. I think commentary tonight was the best it's been in ages. I think
nice to have Kevin Kelly around.
Isn't it though?
Yes. It's a breath of fresh air.
And Taz left after the hook spot.
Right.
And so we got Shivani, Kelly, and
makes sense though, because then you know he wanted to go check on his boy.
I mean, that is his actual kid, so you can definitely understand how they make that work. Again, just this match had everything. And yes, it was contested under New Japan rules, and a lot of Americans aren't going to like that.
Yeah, well, I didn't think that was any big deal. I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it.
I've been thinking that AEW needs to switch to the 20 count instead of the 10 count outside the ring for months. Because they don't
that'd be great.
They don't fucking hold to it anyway, so you might as well just make it a longer count.
Right.
So I mean, no wrestling company holds to the count out thing. None of them do. Just make it a fucking 20 count. Then you don't even have to think about it.
Correct.
Because if you count a 20 count at the same pace that you count a 10 count.
The only time they count at a decent pace, though, where they're actually counting like a normal person would count, it's always a count out that fits the storyline in some way, you know?
In AEW, yes.
The only time they actually observe the count out is when it's a part of the storyline.
How long has that been the case in wrestling now?
Forever. One of those tropes we could do without.
Is that something that's been the case since you've been around?
Yeah, I can remember it forever, yeah.
We then get my least favorite match on this fucking show.
Really?
Sting, Darby Allin, and Tetsuya Naito against Jericho, Guevara, and Suzuki. I did not like this match.
How old is Suzuki?
I will find out. And I will tell you why I didn't like this match, because Sting got hurt about 2 minutes in, and they kept going.
Oh, dear.
Sting got dropped on his head by Guevara. Minoru Suzuki is 55 and does not act like it.
No, he doesn't. He's pretty tough, actually.
He is a tough, scary son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's the guy that kind of got that evil look in his eye, like he might just kill you.
I mean, Kevin Kelly said it. Don't look in his eye too long. You're asking to get hurt. This match sucked. Only because if a guy gets hurt, you don't keep going.
Yeah, how long did they actually go?
I think they went 10 minutes.
Okay. Felt like longer than that. It wasn't a very good match.
No, it was not. And it kind of needed to not be a great match, though, because of what we had after this.
Yeah.
We then get the Bryan Danielson Kazuchika Okada video package.
Right.
This was a very good video package. And then the
Yes.
surprise to surprise us all, final countdown.
Exactly.
I,
I enjoyed that.
I didn't see it coming.
I didn't either.
Um, necessary is how I would describe it, though, because it
Oh,
really
it fit perfect.
it fit into the moment.
Yes, it did.
And me and you have been talking about this match since they announced it, that this is the
Right.
match.
Now you tell me, being that this a Forbidden Door match with the New Japan promoter and Tony, why specifically, as you see it, was this match saved for the main event? No title on the line, no ongoing
This
storyline.
match was saved for the main event because this is a dream match. This is a match that is kind of that almost thing. Like, this almost happened here, but didn't for this reason. And it's
Right.
almost happened like 7 or 8 different times.
So
For
now they pulled the trigger on it.
and for a number of reasons, it just didn't happen. And
Right.
that's across several different promotions, by the way. It just never happened.
So they finally made it happen.
And was it worth the wait?
The crowd was very into it.
This delivered and delivered on every level. It was a very cerebral match. This was a thinking man's wrestling match.
Yeah.
Because
It's that way.
and there is not a single flaw in this match. There was not a single botch. There was not a single goof up. This was just,
It looks as though nobody got hurt.
despite the scary convulsion spot that they shouldn't have done.
Well, there's a lot of things I think they should do, but they like to push it.
What else shouldn't they have done on this show? I mean, other than that.
That seemed like the good climax to the whole thing. You know, I thought as I watched it, I said, yeah, this is kind of like the ultimate flavor of what this style of wrestling is, you know. I've seen a lot more WWE in the past, and Nakamura kind of reminds me a little bit what they used to they called it the strong style, you know.
And because Nakamura was the best at it. And that's why they call him the king.
Danielson and Okada. And were you surprised by the finish?
Yes.
You expected Daniel to lose by submission, or
I thought that Okada would win with the Rainmaker. But the reason I thought that is Danielson is the heel, Okada is the babyface.
Correct.
I don't know if they're going to do a rematch. I have to think they are now.
This kind of it goes along with the story they've been giving us with
what was that?
Type of heel that he is.
This match was storytelling at its finest. This was fantastic.
And Okada tapped out. Must have been a lot of people surprised. Seemed like at the end there was a little bit of mixed reaction. Some people seemed a little surprised.
I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. I do have a Sting update for us, though.
Okay.
Even though I thought he was hurt, he was at the press conference and he says, "I'm good," in response to a question about his status. So, I mean, I'm glad Sting's okay, but that looked really bad.
Yeah.
What did you think of Danielson Okada?
I liked it. I don't ever remember seeing a match with Danielson that I disliked.
I don't think he could wrestle a broomstick.
Yeah.
I
He's a
mean,
real master of the art. And yeah, this was a very, very good match.
What is better in your opinion, Danielson Okada or Osprey Omega? I think it's close.
I'd say the main event was my favorite, and
Um,
I think it was probably better technically.
I think it's very close. Um, I would have to think that these two are headed for a rematch. I also think we're going to get Osprey Omega at Wembley. Um,
Sense?
so this show really felt like, yes, it's Forbidden Door, yes, it's AEW X New Japan, but we're also building for something else, which I appreciate, and I think you appreciate that too. Is yes, this was a one-off show, but they were also building to other things somewhere down the road.
Sure.
I think
Probably do
Danielson,
it again next year.
I think Danielson and Okada is going to be at the Tokyo Dome because I don't know how you don't do that in Japan. Um,
Ah,
I think there's too
okay.
much money in that match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially in Japan, where
Right.
Danielson is such a big deal and Okada is such a big deal. I don't know how you don't do that match at Wrestle Kingdom. If they don't, it's a missed opportunity.
Yes. I agree.
Um, Sting made an interesting comment here, and I want to read this. This is coming straight from the press scrum, courtesy of Devlin Clark. Sting said this quote, "I have not decided on a date to retire. Probably won't be at Wembley. Tony has told me I can stay as long as I want. Looking forward to getting back." He continued, I signed a nullified year deal, but raking it day by day, but taking it day by day. I've had moments where I thought it was over, specifically two Arthur Ashe shows ago. So that would have been 21.
Right.
Um, because remember, that was the show where he had a match and he didn't look great and so on and so forth. Um,
Yeah.
what, Russ, where do you put this in terms of pay-per-views this year? Because we've seen them all.
Yeah. What do you think what we've seen so far?
Every pay-per-view this year. Royal Rumble, Revolution, Elimination Chamber, Mania, uh, Double or Nothing.
I like Double or Nothing better than this one, but it's good. I wouldn't say it was a bad show by any means.
You like Double or Nothing better than this show?
I think so, yeah, just because I was more familiar with a lot of the wrestlers, but this had some pretty good matches. Guys that I'd like to see a little bit more of. Is this the third pay-per-view AEW's done this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Where
I
is the?
may have been the best, yeah.
I think this was better than Revolution, and I think this was obviously. I didn't like Double or Nothing that much, so this was obviously better than Double or Nothing, at least for me.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not even about name value of talent; it's about quality of match. And
Yeah, I
if
agree.
if you're just looking at quality of match, this is the best pay-per-view period. I mean,
And even though it's a 4 hour show, it was paced pretty well. We had 9 matches in 4 hours, and it didn't feel like it drug. It didn't feel as long as a 4 hour WWE show, that's for sure. You know what
there
I
was
mean?
we were supposed to have Adam Cole versus Tom Lawler, but I guess Adam Cole came down with an illness day of and has been
Tom Lawler, yeah, now that name sounds very familiar.
he's been
He's
on the
been around,
Observer,
hasn't he?
huh?
He's been around for a while, hasn't he?
Yes, he's very good, but he's also very good friends with Alvarez and Meltzer, and he does a show with Alvarez, which I don't hold anything against him. Um, Tony has confirmed a tornado tag no disqualification match for Wednesday. Sting and Darby versus Sammy and the Painmaker Chris Jericho.
The Painmaker. Oh boy, here we go. Now nails poking out of his jacket.
I mean, do you hate the nails poking out of his jacket?
Well, they stole that all from the heavy metal bands, like Slayer and shit.
Well, he thinks he's part of a heavy metal band.
Well, I suppose that's debatable.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
So, Russ, I have
Every
to
time
ask.
it comes out, that we got to still hear that song again. Go ahead.
I like that song. I don't know what you're talking about.
Talk about Judas.
I know what you're talking about. I said I like that song. I don't know what you're saying.
Well, I don't hate it, but I sure am tired of it.
Okay, the reason I like that song though is because I went to Full Gear 2021, and when you're in the building and everybody's singing that song, it is contagious.
Well,
It is like an infection, and it bleeds into you, and it just
maybe I've been inoculated against it. That infection. Perhaps.
Osprey's now on the podium for the press conference. He says, I feel like I did a lot better when I got cut open. I've been working on my power game, also been working on cardio. I would agree with that I think the match picked up after Osprey got cut open.
Can we get the crowd going too?
So let's talk about AEW as a whole here, because me and you talked about this last month that June was going to be very important for them. We had that conversation on this show.
Yes, we did.
We've had that conversation multiple times on this show, how important June is for them. I don't have sales numbers for Forbidden Door yet, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me see. This is coming from the Observer. 1.2 million is the gate for Forbidden Door.
Well, it's good they got over 1 million.
They're back over 1 million.
Does that game come out still in the calendar month of June?
That is coming out on Thursday, yes.
All right toward the end of the month then.
And
you're gonna have to talk about that next show.
Yeah, if I get my hands on it. Wish me luck with that.
Well, once you get your hands on it, you'll have to give us your impression. But yeah, so what's their next pay-per-view?
We are done with AEW pay-per-views now until All In, which is probably going to be on Max.
Right.
That's not confirmed. I would imagine that might get confirmed tonight. I'm waiting on confirmation. But
sure.
Osprey says the spectacular energy from this crowd is the best drug in the world. And we've heard that from every wrestler who's on top.
I disagree. I think the best drug in the world is nicotine.
Well, I would agree with you on that.
I miss it.
I don't. I'm still using it. How do you think I deal with Russ every week?
You have to get some kind of drug going there.
Approximately 14,000 was the attendance for this show. Felt bigger than that.
Yeah.
They packed this place. Russ, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Did you like this or WrestleMania more? Because I know you really liked WrestleMania.
I believe I like WrestleMania better.
WrestleMania is going to be hard to beat for you this year because you haven't said you'd like to show more in WrestleMania yet.
Not yet, but there's still half a year left.
So let's talk about AEW as a whole here. Obviously, we have Jack Perry going heel. The next really big thing to watch for AEW is going to be All In at Wembley. We already know that that's an unparalleled success, regardless of if it's a pay-per-view or it's
they sold more tickets than I thought they were able to.
Yeah, they've already sold 70,000 tickets. I mean, that shows already unparalleled success. The next thing I kind of want to see is how do they do when they run the United Center 2 nights in a row? I thought that was a weird move. I mean, I guess if Punk is back,
right,
but Osprey says at the press conference, this is interesting and I want to talk about this. Quote, my body is starting to break down and I'll slow down on independent dates this year.
Well, I should hope so.
Makes sense.
I don't see how they even survive one match, let alone week after week, year after year.
Would you survive one match?
Oh, hell no.
Or would you be like, that was awesome, I'm retiring?
I'll tell you, if I had to work a match, I'd just lay down. As soon as the bell rang, I'd just lay down flat on my back and say, pin me, dude.
Imagine being in there with frickin' Minoru Suzuki.
Oh, man, that'd be scary.
Would you just cower in fear?
Yeah, I'd say, please don't kill me, sir.
Sir, I know you want to hurt me, but
Please don't strip the flesh from my bones and drink my blood.
you crazy bastard. Uh, so let's talk about, let's kind of use, because we got a lot of time left. Let's kind of use the time we have here to talk about AEW and WWE, because I think they are in two very interesting places. And yes, we take a lot of time to review shows on this show, but I think it's also important to have the discussion of perspective and the discussion of where these companies are. And I think this is a good time to have that discussion. We're about halfway through the year. WWE is having a very good year.
And much better in the last couple of years, that's for sure.
Booking wise, for sure. Sales are up.
Right.
They're selling their video game like fire. So, you know, I think it's hard to say that WWE is going down because statistically they're not. You know, did they have a hard time competing with the NBA finals? Yes, but so do we. I mean,
Right. Well, I think WWE is positioned, this is pretty consistent overall. They're much better at building matches for the future, at having an ongoing storyline from week to week that's consistent and makes sense. You
but
look
they
at
never
what they've done
were.
with
They
the
never
Bloodline
were. That's the
storyline. I
thing.
think that's very, very good. The thing with Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, going back 7 years, that is taking time to build a story. AEW does things too quick. They're not good at building matches for the future. Maybe they're getting better, but I'm just talking about in general as we look at Dynamite.
I agree with you, and I think that's something they need to work on, and I think that boils back down to booking. Um, I think booking wise, these companies are pretty close because you could say, well, AEW has a harder time building things. WWE has a harder time finishing. Like
Hey,
giving,
that's a good point.
like AEW might have a harder time building up, but the finish is always satisfying and you always feel like it was worth your time.
I feel like AEW's got too many people on the roster.
Oh, they absolutely do.
Yeah. Need to give some people some pink slips. Not because they're doing horrible, just because they got too many. They can't fill up all their shows with the talent they have.
I think there's going to be a roster trim coming somewhere. I don't know if it's this year, next year, or whatever. As
Yeah,
contracts start to expire, they're going to thin the roster out.
I think they'll have to.
But because Tony's not going to fire anybody.
He doesn't seem to have it in him. I
But
mean, if he didn't fire CM Punk after that last media scrum, I don't think he'd fire anybody.
here's a funny line from the press scrum. Osprey asked Tony, "Did I get any trouble for the flag stuff?" Because remember, he did that spot with the Canadian flag. And Tony says, "I don't know. You work for New Japan, not AEW."
Right. Good answer.
I mean, what else can he say?
I remember when Shawn Michaels did that with the Canadian flag.
Didn't he get in trouble?
Oh, he sure did. He got all kinds of heat for it. He'd
Oh,
be more likely to get in trouble from New Japan than AEW.
if my years of watching New Japan has taught me anything, they don't fuck around.
Yeah, if they feel like he caused them to lose face, they might do something about it.
But I don't think he did. I mean, that crowd was so into that. That crowd was into what he did.
Right.
He didn't disrespect the flag in any way. It's not like he pulled his pants down and pissed on the flag, you know what I mean?
Well, no, that probably would not have gotten over.
No, I don't think it would have.
That could have caused a riot.
Osprey says there was a 12-year-old kid flicking me off, and he looked at him and he said, "You have terrible parents, kid." Okay, so going back to this AEW WWE perspective discussion, WWE is obviously the bigger company, but you can't talk about WWE without talking about the caveat of they are going through a merger with UFC. How do you think that impacts TV? I think it already has, because
Right,
you've seen it. Vince is back. I mean,
right.
it doesn't
I
seem
think
like
I've kind of really felt that a couple of weeks back when we got AJ Styles on Raw, completely ignoring the
brand new
rosters.
brand split.
That was for ratings, and that seemed like the kind of thing that you know. One thing you want is high ratings going into this merger, right?
Yeah,
How long is this all going to take?
it can take year. Mergers like this can take a year. I mean, because these are two massive companies.
After all is said and done, we'll have to see what happens.
Vince isn't going to stick around after this thing's over. Um, I don't think.
You should just try to retire.
When it's over, the merger's not over. You know what I mean?
Right. And then it'll probably be run by Nick Khan or somebody
Uh, I think they're going to keep Triple H for creative,
or creative. Yeah.
because who else is going to do creative? Triple H is obviously the most qualified at this point.
Run away. I can't
Huh?
think of anybody else that comes close.
I mean, even if they manage to get, Paul Heyman to go back into creative, which I don't think Paul Heyman would ever do. I don't think he wants to. And if he does, great.
I
But
think he's enjoying being the wise man
and
on
he's
screen.
doing creative for the bloodline, but like he's not the guy.
Right.
Heyman has said before that he doesn't like being the boss. He did that in ECW and he didn't like it.
A lot of ECW wrestlers didn't like him being the boss either,
No. So
especially the ones he still owes money to.
in terms of perspective and creativity, I think Triple H is the guy. I mean, the only other
Yes.
one you could maybe make an argument for is Shawn.
I'd rather see Triple H take care of it.
I mean, but Shawn has done so bad in NXT. I mean, and I don't.
It just hasn't been smooth. No, it hasn't worked out.
I just. I don't get it with her or with him, with Shawn, because he is so talented, or he was so talented.
Right.
But like, it's almost like, what are you doing, Shawn?
Right. Yeah.
He's got the talent there. Let's not act like there's no talent in NXT. I mean, we've seen it the last few weeks with the talent he had down there with Isla Dawn and Alba Fire and Grayson Waller and
Pretty dangerous.
Pretty Deadly and Cameron
Deadly.
Grimes
Yeah. Deadly. Pretty deadly.
and Cameron Grimes.
I thought Pretty Deadly actually was one of the highlights of SmackDown as a team. I think they could use well. I usually dislike promos where they're talking like that, but this time they're obviously doing it so deliberately just to piss people off. It works. They remind me, they're a better team, but they remind me of like a male version of the Iconics who did everything they could to just piss people off and make them disgusted. And once you figure out that that's the joke, and that's the punchline, it can actually be pretty entertaining.
I mean, it's the same thing with MJF, right?
Yeah.
Does everything in his power to just disgust you.
Yeah, that's right.
Tony Storm's on the podium now at the press scrum, and she says, "I love finishing work and sitting in a room with a bunch of marks."
I suppose everyone's a mark according to her, huh?
How funny was that?
That's good.
I mean, she does these things in character, which, by the way, all of these wrestlers should be doing these press scrums in character. Nobody should be shooting.
I agree.
We learned that from CM Punk, CM
Yeah,
Drunk, CM
that's
Skunk.
right. Let's just have a little kayfabe. Come on, give us the respect of tradition, please.
I mean, Tony's really good at staying in kayfabe, Tony Storm. And that, I mean, you know, for as much as Tony probably regrets hiring Saraya and Ruby Soho, I don't think he can regret hiring Tony Storm.
Nope.
I mean, how good is she in the ring? You know what I mean?
Very good.
And she's great on the mic. They don't let her talk enough. For some reason, they seem to think Saraya is a better promo, which I'll never understand.
I disagree.
Yeah, that doesn't make it.
Isn't that the name her mom used when she wrestled Saraya?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
But I just, what did you make of them announcing the United Center for All Out?
I'm looking forward to it.
It makes sense. It's their WrestleMania, if you will.
Correct. That crowd is going to light the place up.
If they get a crowd, I mean, are they going to fill the United Center, or is it going to be like Collision last week where it was like 9,000 people?
Well,
I mean, pay-per-views in wrestling traditionally sell more tickets.
right.
Am I wrong that pay-per-views have always sold more tickets than television?
Oh, yeah.
Is that historically accurate? That
I think so. I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule.
I mean,
All.
but overall, big shows do bigger numbers statistically.
Right.
Tony Storm says to Tony Khan, "Tell your girls to stop breaking my damn nose," referring to the fact that she broke her nose.
Right.
But I feel like as a wrestler, you're gonna break your nose. Like that is gonna
Just part
happen.
of playing basketball, isn't it? And wrestling.
I mean, any sport, it's pretty much a given you're gonna break your nose.
Sooner or later, you a good chance, yeah.
I mean, name a sport where you don't break your nose.
Mm,
Baseball, maybe, but if you get hit in the nose, you're fucked.
yeah.
And especially when you got a big ass nose like I do.
Yeah. More of a target. Same here.
So, United Center for All Out. I'm going to be interested to see how this Canadian tour does. Because
yeah, that's right. There are a couple more Canadian cities and before they head back to New Jersey.
Correct. They're going to be in Canada for most of July.
Well, that'll be interesting to see how the Canadian crowd reacts. They've started the Owen Hart tournament. It's a little confusing, but
why is it not as big as it was last year? Why did they?
That? I'm sorry.
Why did they shrink the tournament?
I have no idea.
That seems silly to me. Am I crazy?
I don't know. It's possible you might be.
I mean, I do a show with you. I think I have to be.
Well, it would help.
Wouldn't hurt. So for those of you that don't know, a little inside baseball, Tony Storm is married to Juice Robinson. And she made a comment at the press scrum, quote, "If Juice needs me to get him out of whatever stupid situation he's gotten into, then I will." I'm assuming referring to a question about them working together.
Okay.
Tony Storm and Bullet Club Gold would be.
Oh, that'd be great. I
That'd
like
be
that
money.
this Outcast thing.
I mean, you could merge Outcasts into Bullet Club Gold, and I don't think anybody would give a shit.
Sure.
I mean, everybody would be okay with that. They'd just be like, "Oh, so they're black and gold now instead of green."
Green spray paint.
How stupid is that spray paint gimmick, by the way?
Well, it's as old as the NWO and probably older than that.
They've been doing it forever. Russ, I know we kind of glazed over the shows before. Can we talk about how bad this concession stand brawl between Briscoe and Jarrett was?
That was embarrassing. That was so pathetic. That was just absolutely horrible. And I really, really feel bad that
Mark Briscoe gets
Briscoe has been so badly mismanaged since he came there. They put him in meaningless matches, stupid matches.
This guy should be feuding with MJF.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was an embarrassment.
This match was terrible. And I don't know whose effing idea it was.
One of the worst in a long, long time. And I don't understand what Jeff Jarrett is doing. I don't understand why his wife was there. She just shows up 1 week with no explanation. She's involved in the group with no explanation or rhyme or reason. It's just I don't know who pulled this out of their ass, but I think it was pretty bad. Pretty bad.
I think they need to put it back.
Put it back in there. Yeah. Let it marinate a few more years.
And then never take it out again.
There you go.
So, Russ, I have to ask you, as an avid Orange Cassidy hater before this show started, where are you on Orange Cassidy?
I hate the guy, but I don't know if the guy can go, but I still have a hard time getting past the gimmick.
He's had some phenomenal matches.
Yeah, I think he's had too many wins. I think that they opened up Dynamite with a Orange Cassidy match too often. Sometimes 3 or 4 weeks in a row. And
I would like to see women's matches get more time.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Because
that's what this pay-per-view was really lacking, was any decent representation of the female talent.
Because they have a lot of it.
They have
both
a lot
companies.
But I don't think that Tony Storm versus Willow is the best example we could have gotten. I understand why they had to get that title off of Willow because of what happened.
You mean Mercedes?
They could have done that on weekly TV.
They didn't take any title off of Willow. You mean Mercedes?
I thought she had the she had the
New Japan title.
New Japan, thank you.
But this was for the AEW women's title, not the New Japan.
That's right. See how confused I get? She still got that.
For perspective, this was supposed to be Mercedes Moné versus Tony Storm, not Willow Nightingale.
Right.
Actually, the original plan, if you want to go all the way back, was Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter, which would have been a million times better.
Sure. But people keep getting hurt.
I mean, there was not anywhere near the amount of injuries on this show that there were for the first Forbidden Door when Danielson was hurt and
that right.
Punk was hurt and I think Britt was even hurt if I remember correctly. So, no, there wasn't as many injuries and they didn't have to change as much, but clearly some stuff changed.
Right.
But again, to have 2 all-time classics on the same card shows how spoiled we are as wrestling fans now. And me and you, and I would think you would agree with this. Sometimes me and you are too cynical on this show.
Sure.
Sometimes we get a little too critical and forget, wait, this is wrestling. It's goofy.
Right.
Brian Danielson's now on the stand, the media scrum presser thing. His right arm is in a brace.
Okay. Probably, maybe it's just a precaution.
He did have an arm injury coming in.
Right.
He could just be selling too, but he did have a legitimate injury coming in. So,
right.
But what do you think of the idea of AEW doing more pay-per-views? That's something that's been.
I'd like to see it. Or they got 6 a year now?
Well, a year. They've got Revolution,
Right.
Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, presuming that sticks around. All Out,
All out.
and then Full Gear. They've got 5.
Okay.
Because All In's not going to be a pay-per-view. It's also not going to be yearly. So,
Okay.
I mean, it might be yearly. Maybe they do it at Craven Cottage instead of Wembley because Craven Cottage is significantly smaller.
Okay.
Craven Cottage is the Fulham Football Club stadium in England. It's
Oh,
also
cool.
in London. It's also in London, and Tony owns it. So
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I don't remember exactly what the cap is on Craven Cottage. I'm looking that up so I don't look like a total moron. 25,000 is the capacity of Craven Cottage. I think they could run that place once a year and sell it out easy.
Sure.
Because they run Arthur Ashe once a year and sell it out.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sized place.
That's 20,000. 25,000 in London. Those wrestling fans are nuts.
Right.
I
They don't
mean,
get to see American wrestling that much.
exactly. So if you do that once a year and kind of keep it special, Craven Cottage is very realistic. One thing I do think they need to do better next year for Forbidden Door is I think they need to build it better. And I think they need to give it more time. I don't think they can keep doing it in June.
Yeah. If they could just build it up a little bit more.
I think they start doing it in July. I think that's what they need to do. And I understand you don't want to compete with Money in the Bank, which makes total sense. I wouldn't either. I mean,
That's next Saturday, I believe. This coming Saturday, we will be treated to Money in the Bank in the afternoon, not the evening.
we're gonna be right back here, yeah, next week talking about another pay-per-view, Money in the Bank.
Correct.
I'm looking forward to that show.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be a fun show. But I think the problem with it, and the problem on the whole, is the fact that who's going to win Money in the Bank? Because if they give it to Logan Paul, people are going to lose their shit.
Oh, I know. I hope not.
I don't want it because I don't want to listen to people bitch. I mean, that's really the reason. Like, I don't care who wins Money in the Bank, generally speaking. I don't care if Logan wins it. Okay, fine. I just kind of don't care. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because Logan can work. You know, I don't like the guy. I think he's a piece of shit human being, but he's not a fraud. You know, he can work.
Yes, he can.
Would I prefer
Surprisingly well. Pardon
would
me.
I prefer to see LA Knight win? Yes.
Yeah.
Would I prefer even more for Damian Priest to win? Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Because I think Damian Priest winning Money in the Bank is kind of the next evolution for him. But I don't know that it happens. I mean,
Right.
you know, they pulled the trigger on Liv Morgan a year too late.
Yeah.
And granted, that didn't hurt her too much because she's still super over. She came back Friday night on SmackDown and got an absolutely massive pop.
Yes, you did.
I had a friend who was in the building Friday night, and she texted me and said, Liv just got the biggest fucking pop you've ever heard. I mean, like ear-ringing pop. And you didn't really hear it on TV, but like
Right.
my friend sent me a video that she took when Liv came out, and it is deafening how loud it is. So it's not like Liv Morgan's not still over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she is. Liv Morgan is very over. And, you know, is that a case of WWE mishandling a talent? Yeah. Because guess what? How long was Liv over before they did anything with her?
Right.
How long has Liv Morgan been getting loud pops like that?
Quite a while.
I mean, 2021, right? Right when they came out of the pandemic. She was
Yes.
over like crazy. Because they went into the pandemic and she was a nobody, and then they come out and she's what was she there for a while? The second most over woman on the roster?
Something like that.
pretty easily.
She didn't get hurt by that pandemic as much as the other ones did.
No, the pandemic helped her. Do you know why? Because she was living in Florida and she was working on her wrestling. Liv Morgan has gotten so much better in the ring than she was because she got called up too early. She wasn't in NXT for long enough. And the pandemic helped her because she was able to go back down to NXT essentially.
Good deal.
Now, was she actually on NXT TV? No, but was she able to go to the Performance Center pretty much every single day? Yeah, which is something you don't have when you're on the road
Right.
in Tupelo, Mississippi or Des Moines, Iowa. Shout out to Russ.
Yeah. Des Moines.
Des Moines. Bryan Danielson fractured his forearm.
Oh dear.
That's the early prognosis. In regards to wrestling Okada again, he says, and I quote, "I want to wrestle Okada again and break his arm. It seems like fair play." God, I love him.
Yeah.
I love what I do, and the worst thing you can do is take it away from me. I saw the BCC match, and I'm going to slap Yuta with my left hand.
Okay.
He also says he wants to wrestle Ishii and has to choose between Ishii with the chance to likely, and I quote, end Okada.
Okay. I like that kind of talk.
Me and you are a big fan of the TV14 speak. The "I'm going to kill you."
Right. Exactly. There weren't going to be an actual physical death right in the middle of the ring.
Me and you just like the gimmick of that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Which doesn't explain why we don't like death matches, but
Right.
so are you surprised they haven't done another exploding barbed wire death match? That's a question.
No.
You're not surprised?
No, I was thinking about that the other day and I thought, man, that had to be embarrassing.
It was. It was a low point.
Yeah, it was. Eddie Kingston did his very best to try to explain what was going on, but oh boy, that's one they're not going to reference too much in the future. They're going to try to forget that one ever happened.
They're putting it in the video game, but that's such a video game match type anyway.
Exploding barbed wire match?
Yeah.
No shit.
No shit. Russ, can you believe that this is our sixth? We have been doing this show for exactly 6 months now.
Well, that's great. I've enjoyed it. It's been really good.
This is going to be our 6 month mark in terms of shows.
All right.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'd like to do some more. 6 months more. Let's see what happens.
You want to punch me in the face most weeks.
No, 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 no. I don't have any desire to commit acts of violence against anyone.
Except for Orange Cassidy.
No, no, I'd shake his hand. I'd be nice. I'd be a gentleman.
Me and Devlin had an interesting conversation, and I want to ask you the same question. I asked Devlin,
Yeah.
if the Young Bucks quietly left AEW tomorrow and the company just didn't say anything and nobody reported it or anything, how long would it take you to notice?
It would take me a little while because I might maybe a couple of weeks. I'd be relieved that they weren't around.
Obviously,
haven't they probably made enough money to retire early?
probably. I wish no ill will on the Young Bucks, by the way. Like,
Right.
we don't root for people to lose their jobs.
No.
I mean, even if you don't like them, you're not saying, "Oh, I hope they get fired."
And I don't want people to get hurt either.
No. I mean, we don't like Orange Cassidy, but if he broke his neck in the middle of the ring, we wouldn't be coming on here laughing about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And there are people online who talk about wrestling just like we do, who would legitimately come on here and laugh if somebody broke their neck.
Well, not me.
Not me either.
Yeah.
I don't understand that thinking.
That's when it becomes real.
Yeah. And it's like I said with the convulsion spot.
People
They,
react with cheers when a football player gets hurt.
I don't understand that either.
That's sick in the those people are sick in the head.
I mean, we joke about being sick in the head. You know what I
Right.
mean? Me and you joke, oh, Russ is a demented old circus monkey. But like,
Yes.
we're not going to come on here and be like, oh, so and so broke their neck. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, no.
We're not we're not that crazy. Crazy almost certainly. I don't see.
That being said, I don't laugh at people's injury. There have been occasions where certain wrestlers gotten injured, and my action was like, well, what did you think was going to happen by doing something like that? That was kind of stupid. That's a little bit different than laughing at it.
Right. Um and this isn't wrestling, but I did want to ask your opinion on this. What did you think of that submarine that went missing and then imploded?
Oh, that was a tragedy. That was really something.
But okay, I'm not laughing at death here.
Right.
Obviously, everyone that died, rest in peace, whatever. But they spent $250,000 to go further underwater than any human craft has ever been designed to do.
Right. They obviously weren't prepared properly.
And they were using a Logitech game controller from 1998. I What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
It's like you say with the injuries, like, what did you think was going to happen?
Well, it's like once in a while you'll hear about some deathmatch wrestler, almost bled to death, almost bled out from something he did because he jumped off a
For a whole
ladder
lot
onto
less than
a
$250,000,
pile
mind
of
you.
barbed wire and got ripped open. Well, what do you think was going to happen?
Uh, Again, you know, I'm not out here making fun of people dying, but what I think everybody needs to learn from that Titanic sub situation is maybe don't do shit
Right.
where you think, I could die. Like,
Well, somebody has to do it, but I think they were, over their heads.
there was no pilot on board.
And it was a very expensive little lesson they had to learn
They,
in
they
terms of
didn't
money and life.
they didn't learn anything, Russ, because they're dead. Anyway, I just I don't know. I think it was a very weird week, not only for wrestling, but in the world. I think this week has been very strange. Can we agree that this week has been very strange?
Well, we're living in strange times in a strange world in a strange country inhabited by lots of strange people. I think you and I are the only normal ones left, man.
We're not normal, Russ.
Or we're normal and sane. Everybody else has lost it.
That is the craziest thing you've ever said.
All right. Gotcha.
Getting back to this press scrum with Danielson, and I talked about the scary spot with Omega earlier, and he was asked about that, and he said that kind of stuff does scare me because the injury standpoint is so great. He continued, was it worth it? Did it make the match better? Or are they risking their career for nothing, essentially?
Right.
And I agree with Danielson. Um, he continued on this, I guess. Not my responsibility to say who should do what. I think we should work with medical staff to approve stuff. I agree with that. I think Danielson's got a point there. I think both companies need to be a little more careful medically because guys get hurt. I mean, that's going to happen regardless, but
Well, look what happened to Dante Martin. That was a horrific injury in basically a totally throwaway, meaningless match. He took risks that were absurd, an
yeah.
absurd level of risk for a meaningless throwaway match.
And he broke his ankle.
Yeah. And
Or
that's
was it his
one that
leg?
takes a while to heal.
I think he broke his ankle, right? Or was it his
Yeah.
leg that he broke? It was a lower extremity injury.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think they need to get a grip on medical stuff in both companies. I think both companies have a problem with that. Because if a guy gets hurt doing a routine move, you know what I mean? That's one thing. That's unpreventable, right? Like in Punk's situation when he did the lariat and tore his tricep. You never could have prevented that. But like doing a 630 senton and landing on your feet going full speed and you break your ankle, you could have prevented
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's definitely preventable.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think wrestling is medically up to where it should be.
Well, on the dark end of it, even though we talk about how much we hate these death matches, some of the shit they do, it's probably inevitable. Sooner or later, someone's going to die in the ring
And
because
the
of something
second it does, they're stopping.
like that. What's that?
The second that somebody dies in a death matches are done forever. I mean, they have to be.
Yeah. Well, it's going to take regulations.
I don't think so. I think if somebody legitimately dies in the ring, that's it.
People just will maybe get over it.
I think that would be just such a reality check that people would have to. I just don't see that being let go. Um, do you think, because I saw this as a discussion online, do you think the FTC is going to get a little angry at this merger between WWE and UFC? I don't think they're going to block it by any standard. I don't think they have a leg to stand on with that. But do you think they're going to get a little nippy at it?
Um, I don't know. I really don't know what to expect. I think that I know a lot of people hate wrestling. They don't like Vince McMahon, but he's got a lot of pull and knows a lot of people. Got a lot of power. And so I don't anticipate anything really bad.
No,
I
it's not going
think,
to be anything bad. I'm just saying, is there going to be like an FTC thing where they come out and say, well, we approve the move on the whole, we have concerns about blank and would like there to be some conversation about these issues before the deal goes through?
yeah, that's possible. It's going to take a while.
Because the FTC has done that before.
Right.
They've approved a move, but they've also said, we want certain.
Well, I imagine they're probably going to do more than the FCC. The FCC probably, they don't, watch TNT, the FCC, you can say, shut the fuck up and chant for several minutes. And unlike WWE, they don't even make any attempt whatsoever to try to censor it.
It's so hard. Even with modern technology, that's so hard to shut down because you're not going
Yeah,
to tell the crowd to stop because they're just going
yeah.
to do it more. But like, you're not taking a kid to an AEW show. You're not doing that.
I'll mention there. You don't see a lot of kids in the audience.
You do, like, you'll see a kid with like his dad who's wearing a Danhausen shirt or a CM Punk shirt or whatever. Like the kid will be wearing a Danhausen shirt and the dad will be wearing like a insert grown
Sure.
man's wrestler here shirt.
Yeah.
Like insert your dad's favorite wrestler here t-shirt. I mean,
I haven't seen Danhausen in a while.
he's got a broken leg.
Oh, well, that's why.
Um, yeah. Or no, wait, that was his last injury. I can't remember what he's out with this time. But Danhausen did start trending on Twitter on Wednesday because CM Punk wore a Danhausen shirt.
Okay.
So I want CM Punk and Danhausen to be a tag team for the simple fact that I want to see how much merch it would sell. Because they would not be able to keep that in stock.
Yeah,
Think about how much merch those two sell on their own.
exactly. I like Danhausen's gimmick better than I like his wrestling.
But if you put him
Wrestling
with
is
Punk, he doesn't have to do anything.
yeah,
They have to turn Punk heel, right? From here.
it would seem natural.
How do you get away from that reaction? Because that's going to be everywhere.
Right. Everywhere except Chicago. Kind of like MJF's reaction everywhere except Long Island.
And I know Toronto is Weirdoville, and I know there's weird crowds in Toronto. I understand that. Canada has always been wacky town.
Right.
But when it comes to wrestling, Canada's always been really wacky. But telling me he's going to get cheered in Los Angeles, he's not.
Right.
Certainly not going to get cheered in Minneapolis.
Never going to happen.
Is he going to get cheered at Wembley? I don't think so.
Well, it'd be interesting to see, you know.
But I think there's a chance everybody gets cheered at Wembley. That's the thing. I think everybody could get cheered at Wembley. I think that's a real possibility.
That's going to be an interesting show.
And we're going to talk about it. Probably a lot.
Exactly.
Do you think that show will be better, or do you think this one will be? When it's over. Knowing Tony.
Wembley. I really don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing it though.
I think from a sheer spectacle perspective, Wembley's probably going to be out of this world.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be the first show at that version of that stadium. First wrestling show.
Sure.
And I know you don't watch soccer, but I do. And
right.
I kind of got a taste of what that would be like at the FA Cup final this year.
Yeah.
When it was Manchester City and Manchester United, these two big rival clubs, both from Manchester. 90,000 people packed into this place.
That's a hell of a lot of people.
And you can feel it through the screen. Like you can hear the crowd. Like it's just,
Energy.
there's not a quiet moment in Wembley. And if they're at 70,000, yes, the FA Cup final did 90. Wow. I understand you're probably not getting 90 into AEW. But to give you an idea,
it ain't gonna happen.
Could it? It absolutely could. If they announce like Punk versus Okada, yeah, it could happen. If they announce, I mean, what's another big money match that they could pop in there?
The Guns versus the Dark Order. I'm fucking with you.
Russ, if they put the Guns versus the Dark Order on All In, I'm going to blame you.
What's that?
If they put Guns versus Dark Order on All In, I'm blaming you.
Well, I didn't say it. It wasn't my idea.
Tony Khan, you never watch this show and you never should because you'll probably cry yourself to sleep.
Terrible idea. That was a terrible idea.
Please don't do that. We don't want that.
Right.
I don't think we're going to get anything less than like a bunch of dream matches on that All In card. But All Out's the next weekend, man.
Right.
It's All In, then it's All Out right away.
Exactly. First you gather them in, and then you kick them out.
Do you think All In is going to be a lot of more spectacle matches than title matches?
Yeah. It's going to be a little bit less serious as far as like the toughness level. You know what I mean?
But are you okay with that as a wrestling fan?
Yes.
Are you okay with them saying right off the jump, okay, All In, All Out. All Out is up here. All In is right here. Are you okay with that?
Well, they ought to have them both up here. That's what I want.
Well, because if they're going to switch the title, you're going to do it at All Out.
Right.
You're not going to do it at All In. So MJF's probably not even going to defend the title on All In because he shouldn't.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. Could they have MJF lose the title in London at All In and then win it back in Chicago?
Sure.
Would that be stupid? Yes. Would I put it past Tony Khan? No.
Right.
I think anything is possible with that. I think MJF's going to hold the title to the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think December.
I think he should.
I mean, I'm not sick of him. I'll tell you that.
I'm not.
I think he's I think he's fantastic. The official timeline on Bryan Danielson coming from Tony Khan is 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
That probably puts him out of Wembley.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
I mean, they could build a match with him being hurt if they know he's going to be back in time.
That's pushing it though. He's been hurt a lot. I think
No,
he can take off more time than prescribed.
again, if it was a concussion, I would agree with you, but I I have a mantra with concussions. If they tell you you're going to be out 2 weeks with a concussion, plan on being out 4 weeks
Yeah.
because it's a concussion.
Yes.
But a fractured forearm, that can heal pretty quick, especially if it's taken care of properly. And they could just have him do commentary for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yes.
Get Excalibur the fuck out of there, whatever you do.
Yeah. I tell you what, I not warming up to him yet.
Collision is being taped this week.
Okay.
Thoughts?
See what happens.
They're taping it on Thursday in Hamilton, Ontario.
Well, here's the thing, if you're editing a tape show, then it better be better than a live show.
But so often those taped shows suck because you go online and read the spoilers anyway.
Right. You can.
I
try not to.
You don't like spoilers, do you, Russ?
It depends.
If it's Rampage, you don't care.
Right, exactly. Or if it's NXT, if it's something I don't watch, I don't care.
But we watch Collision. Whether we want to
Right.
or not is a whole nother discussion.
Right.
So, Russ,
Yes, sir.
last question, because we were getting pretty close to the end here. At the end of the year, who do you think we'll look back on and say had the better 2023, WWE or AEW?
WWE.
You think they finished this thing strong?
I think well, I don't know. Are you speaking about creatively or financially?
Creatively.
Okay. WWE, I still give them the edge.
Even accounting for Vince?
Yes. Even accounting for Vince.
Who do you think has more high quality matches? I think that's AEW.
Yeah.
AEW is going to have the better matches. I mean, that's just
overall. Storylines, though, from week to week are much better in WWE.
Now, yes.
What do you think at the end of the year? What's your prediction?
It depends on Vince. I think if Vince keeps meddling in creative, I think you could see a real decline.
Right.
And I also think it really depends on what they do with the bloodline. I mean, as we sit here, Bloodline Civil War is set for Money in the Bank.
Right.
That's going to keep going.
Right.
Probably until WrestleMania. Now would be the time. I think they're going to go get Jacob Fatu. and put him with Roman.
Yeah.
I think Roman is probably going to rebuild the bloodline, if that makes any sense. And I think the Usos are going to get some friends, and I think this is going to end at War Game. This is going to end in a War Games at Survivor Series.
Okay.
And if that's the direction that they're going, if they're going to bring people in to help finish this storyline, like a Jacob Fatu, there's a lot of Anawahis out there that they can
They
go
sure
get.
is. There's a lot they could do.
There's a lot of people out there that they can go get that are affordable for them because Jacob Fatu is not going to cost that much money.
Right.
I mean, he's not cheap. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he's not like, you're not paying CM Punk where you're going to pay him $4 million a year and you're not going to have to think about
Right.
it. I mean, it's going to be 950, a million, somewhere in there. Give him a 2-year deal. See how it works. I mean,
More money than I'll ever see. More money than I'd ever want.
I think Russ would be okay if we gave him $500,000 and told him to fuck off.
Yeah. I spent it all on comic books.
I could see you doing that. Russ, let's talk about Uncle Russ's Comic Talk.
Yeah, it'll be up this week. Have the remainder of my interview with Meng Chen, Ming Chen, excuse me, Ming Chen from Comic Book Man, AMC. And we're going to be talking about some books for sale this week. Got a lot of Justice League and Fantastic Four. Tune in. Uncle Russ's Comic Talk on Lock 22 Productions.
And also go check out Shrewsworthy with me. That show comes
Yes.
out every week.
Episodes out so far, right?
3, yes.
And they're excellent. The current one, it's a lot of fun.
That last one was a lot sillier than I kind of wanted it to be, but it worked out. Steve
Right.
Steve Rubin will be on with me this week. He's a good friend of mine, film historian, author.
Excellent.
Really good conversation we had for about 45 minutes. That is the shortest episode so far, and it will probably be the shortest episode I ever do that show. Just because we were short of time. So
I just highly recommend you do that. Tune in and watch Ben Shrewsworthy.
And we've got more fun content coming for you this week. I don't necessarily want to announce what's coming, but there is something new coming probably this week. I'm not going to announce it yet. I'll probably do it on Twitter, but
all right.
It's up to something season, as Pat McAfee says. It is, in fact, up to something season.
Good deal.
And I'm up to something.
Well, there you go.
And I think everybody's really going to like it. It kind of taps more into... I'm going to give everybody a hint. Russ, do you want a hint? I'm going to tell you off camera anyway, but do you want a hint?
Yeah.
It taps more into my nerdy side. I will tell everybody that right now.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. Stay tuned this week.
Will do.
It may be next week, but I'm thinking we're going to get that done probably tomorrow. When I say get done, I mean it's going to get taped tomorrow and it'll go up later this week.
Yeah.
Speaking of taped, we've been taping for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Russ, overall, I do want to go through just a couple more notes from the press conference here. It sounds like they're kind of moving. They're moving a lot faster than they usually do, probably because the show ended so late. Because it is 1:40 in the morning in Canada, in Toronto right now.
Oh, there you go.
I'm just going to go through the rest of my notes here for what Danielson said. He made a note on concussions saying AEW does not rush people back from concussions, and I absolutely love that. Broken forearm happened on the elbow drop. I didn't have my arm in a safe space. Described it as a freak accident. He was asked if he's healthy and he wants to wrestle Zack Sabre Jr. and Ospreay, referring to Wembley. He says, I'd love to wrestle them. I wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. in front of 45 people in 2008. He continued, I'd love to wrestle both of them, but also a ton of guys, a ton of AEW guys. We haven't done me versus Omega 2, haven't had me versus Punk, Darby, or Samoa Joe yet in AEW. Even Orange Cassidy, he keeps going here. Even Orange Cassidy, I'd love to wrestle him because he has amazing matches week after week. He's fantastic. I'd love to wrestle Pac. I wrestled him in Ring of Honor, but never WWE. I'll wrestle any AEW guys as much as any British wrestlers. Tony Khan confirms the injury is not kayfabe. He confirmed the thing about Collision being taped. Tony says he would like to see a DLC for Fight Forever, which is the video game featuring New Japan wrestlers. Says he played a bit and his favorite mode is the ladder match. Which, knowing Tony,
Right.
that adds up.
Sure. Surprised it's not his favorite is not an exploding ladder match.
Confirms
the
the
ladder
gate
before it explodes.
confirms the report by the Observer earlier in the week because it probably came from him. That this is up until August 27th in London, their biggest gate at 1.2 million.
All right.
Says initial growth of the company has been great. And live audience numbers play into this almost as much, if not more so, than TV. You know what I mean? Because if you're filling buildings,
right,
you're doing okay.
Yes.
Say what you want about their TV ratings, but everybody's numbers are down. The NBA had their lowest numbers in the regular season ever this year. So say what you want about their numbers, but clearly TNT's happy with it. TBS is happy with it.
I think they must be making a little bit of money.
And selling the ads is clearly not a hard thing. They sell more ads than I think I've ever seen before. More pictures than ever before.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just the general notes I have. Thanks again to Devlin for feeding us press conference notes.
Thank you.
It's fed us a couple of good conversation topics.
Yes.
Obviously, London is going to surpass the all-in gate because they're at about 8 million. London is going to surpass the Forbidden Door gate because they're at about 8 million for that at last check. So they're going to beat it, but I mean, they're not just going to beat it. They're going to smash it.
Right.
But it'll be interesting because the next big thing is Thursday. I want to see how the reviews for this video game are.
Yeah.
And I want to try to get my hands on it.
I hope you're able to pretty soon.
Because if I can get my hands on it, that'll be good.
Hopefully it won't be as bad as it looks.
I've seen gameplay for it now because they had an event in, I don't even know where it was, but they had some event somewhere for it and it looks fun. I mean, the graphics are shit, but it looks fun.
Could be worse.
Could always be worse, Russ.
That's right.
And on that note, folks, we bid you good night. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Two Marks and a Spark. Russ, always a pleasure.
Always.
We will be right back here next week. We don't go anywhere. We don't disappear. We don't run away.
Absolutely. We will be back.
And next Saturday night sounds pretty all right for a fight.
Yes, it does. Saturday night's all right for fighting. We will come here and we will fight.
Tony did confirm, by the way, and I suspected this, but Tony confirmed it. This is one of the 3 biggest gates in history for any wrestling promotion in Canada.
Oh, good. Good deal.
Which doesn't surprise anybody, really. Obviously, the WrestleMania they did there, I think, is number 1. But,
sure.
Folks, we thank you for joining us. Everybody have a good night.
Yes, good night.
We will see y'all right back here in 6 days. As I like to say, Damon, play my fucking music. Get us out of here.